All right, so let's talk about some of the most anticipated reads that I have coming up in 2022. Now, these are going to be new releases, not simply what my TBR is going to be, because who the hell knows what that thing's going to look like. So I'm going to do my best to go in order of release date. I think I have most of these correct. I know some have moved around. One at the end, I don't actually know the proper release date for, but let's get into it. So up first is The Lord of Demons. So this is book 3 of Evan Winter's The Burning series. Now, I had honestly forgotten about this a little bit after reading Fires of Vengeance, which I absolutely loved. I loved it more than Rage of Dragons. I think it was a step up in damn near every way. And if you love tons of nonstop action, fast-paced, really heavily focused on the magic system and combat in your fantasy, this is the series for you, because between Rage of Dragons and Fires of Vengeance, you'll find plenty of critiques online. I don't necessarily disagree with some of them. Tao is somewhat of a dumb main character at times, and not all of the side characters are very well fleshed out, things like that. But I love it for what it is, which is just a breakneck speed, nonstop action fantasy story of these people fighting demons and each other, and there's dragons, and it's violent as hell. It's incredibly exhilarating to read. And I thought that Fires of Vengeance actually did a fantastic job of stepping up the side characters from book 1 to book 2, including Tao. He isn't quite as stupid and just rage mode the entire time. But just in general, I was really looking forward to where the plot was going, especially with the entire demon aspect of the world. And just looking forward to book 3 now, knowing that it's called The Lord of Demons. That could be referring to Tao. That could be referring to a villain. I'm not sure exactly where that's going to go yet, but we did learn something about that whole world in book 2, and I'm really, really looking forward to what happens with that in book 3, with this huge threat looming of them, as well as this, human versus human combat that continues through this series, and this big war that's coming, even though, it's been a constant war this whole time, but the stakes are getting higher. There's more and more people involved. The battles are getting bigger, and I can't wait. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I have it marked out as January of 2022. I don't have an actual date, but that's only a month away, so let's go. More Evan Winter. Now, book 2, Kingdoms of Death, book 4 of the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio, a new favorite of mine. Brilliant prose, beautiful writing, incredible combat, awesome characters. It's such an expansive universe, a great sci-fi fantasy blend in the Sun Eater series. I was reading these along with Leanna from Leanna's library, and we are absolutely loving them. We've done spoiler talks at length for all of these books. We are also going to read the other stories in anticipation of this release, which is marked as March 2022 right now. I think it was earlier, and then it got pushed to March. I know that Rocchio had to split this into 2 books, and then he wrote an additional, I believe, 80,000 words for this book and book 5, which is also coming out next year. I don't have a title or date for that yet, but obviously that will be on this list as well. But I don't know where to put it because I don't know when it's coming out and I don't know what it's called. But Kingdoms of Death was immediately one of my most anticipated of 2022 after reading all 3 of the main novels this past year, because wow, his writing just truly blew me off my feet. I didn't go into it expecting to be as moved as I was and as into it as I was, and holy shit, it was one of the best things that I had ever read. Howling Dark and then also Demon in White quickly took the top spots of my best reads of 2021, topping the likes of Royal Assassin, which I didn't think was going to be topped, and Empire of Silence almost topped it, but wow, Howling Dark and Demon in White definitely took those spots from it. Demon in White being my favorite book that I read in 2021. So yeah, book 4 and 5 of that series next year, along with reading the other stories that I haven't gotten to. Tons of Sun Eater content coming up, and I cannot wait. Next up, book 3, and I'm assuming that this date has not moved. I know there was a lot of personal family things going on with John Gwynne and the loss of his daughter, so rest in peace to her, and my heart goes out to you all once again for that. I do have April 2022 as the Hunger of the Gods release. Definitely anticipating that. I loved Shadow of the Gods, this bad boy right here. Wonderful story, and although I did not like the second trilogy, of Blood and Bone, the sequel trilogy to the Faithful and the Fallen Quartet. This bad boy, I mean, if you love Viking-style fantasy, that is what you're going to feel reading these books. Tons of action, tons of bloody violence, deep lore and mystery surrounding these gods that are starting to stir. If you've seen the cover Hunger of the Gods, it's a freaking wolf that's about the size of this damn dragon, so it's terrifying. And this series so far, the Bloodsworn Saga, as it's called, is just going to be probably one of my favorites of the entire year. I mean, this was a brilliant book, and I know it's seen tons of praise online, rightfully so, because if you love, again, high-stake, fast-paced, action-packed fantasy, this is going to do it for you with even better characters than I would have seen in something like Rage of Dragons. While I did think the Of Blood and Bone series was a step down character-wise and stakes-wise from Faithful and the Fallen, John Gwynne knows how to get you attached to characters real quick. It doesn't take a lot of words. It doesn't take a massive page count. I mean, this book is not 1,000 pages long, and that's what I love. And I know my buddy Jimmy at the Fantasy Network talks about this, of how efficient John Gwynne is with his writing. He doesn't waste time. It's so efficient. His writing just gets directly to where it needs to be, and he can write beautiful things if he wants to. He can be direct and to the point when he needs to. It's just his writing is so good for the story that he's telling that I couldn't imagine it being another way. And I have always said that I feel like he balances POVs so wonderfully, especially in combat scenes, because he bounces between POVs within the same battle, getting different perspectives brilliantly. And I think it really puts you in the scene. You feel like you're shoulder to shoulder in their shield wall in the middle of the combat. And it's truly awesome. I love his writing. I love the majority of his characters and the story that he's telling. I totally dig the vibes that I'm getting from this series, and I'm sure we're going to continue our group collaboration chats that we were doing for the previous series and that we did with Shadow of the Gods. So cannot wait to talk Hunger of the Gods with you all in 2022. Next up, and I don't actually have a date for this, The Lonesome Crown, Book 3 of the Five Warrior Angels by Brian Lee Durfee. So I have praised this man's writing as often as I can. Go back in there, Shadow of the Gods. These two books, I don't know if you can see them right here, but I just talked about these as one. It was number 5 on my top 5 series that I read in 2021. Big, epic, fat fantasy books with deep, deep lore, brilliant critique on religion and just how to establish it in a fantasy world. Great characters, beautiful prose. It's super dense at times with like Robert Jordan-esque, Tad Williams-esque writing of just description. And if you're into that, it's great. The combat is violent as hell. It is no holds barred. Just some of these characters are total psychopaths, real pieces of shit. This is not a great world to live in, but I love reading about it. It's got some of the coolest assassins that I've ever seen in a book, and just the shit that they do to get their powers is crazy. It's just, you can tell this guy just loves fantasy and does not shy away from putting mystical elements into the world. And just, I don't even know, like, if you're looking for big, fat, epic fantasy and you don't want something as long as The Wheel of Time or as long as Stormlight's going to be, this is going to be a great trilogy. I know he wanted to have it as 5 books. Publisher told him 3. Whatever. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait for The Lonesome Crown. I don't know the release date for it yet, but it is definitely one of my most anticipated of next year. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, next up, this is going all the way to November of next year, is The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. So this is technically the 7th Mistborn book, number 4 of Era 2, and I think this is the conclusion of it. I don't know. I am not a huge fan of Era 2. The reason I have this on here, though, is I still love Mistborn. And I think at some point, I'll probably try to reread some of Era 2. I'm not a huge Western guy, and what I thought going into it was going to be really cool, because like mixing Western with Mistborn sounds cool on paper. I didn't like the 2 main characters, so I probably won't love them if I reread it. But I can't leave it unfinished, so I need to read The Lost Metal when it comes out. Getting the greater Cosmere effect from it, I'm sure will be worth it, just because so much is tying into the greater Cosmere storyline and all this universe that has been built. this Sanderson verse is just fantastic, and how all these things are connecting, and you're seeing characters pop up in different books, in different worlds. You're seeing magic kind of leak in and out of different places. It's tons of fun. I loved Mistborn, so I want to see more of it. Even though, I mean, the good thing is the third book of Era 2 was the best in my opinion. I didn't like Alloy of Law. Shadows of Self was okay, and then Bands of Mourning I think was clearly the best of the three. Probably because it heavily talked about Era 1 the most. I'm just a sucker for Era 1. But I'm looking forward to it because I want to see where the story goes and how it's going to play into the greater Cosmere, especially given the timeline differences of like Era 1 to Era 2 and how this is all intertwining with, Roshar and all these other places, because there's so many places that you could go with the evolution of a storyline and jumping forward hundreds, if not thousands of years, and keeping with, similar, if not the exact same magic systems, but expanding on technology and other things around you is just a really cool concept. So I do have faith. In Sanderson to knock it out of the park. The series did get better as it went on, like I said. So I'm hoping that I love this one, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. And last but not least is Winds of Winter. It's not coming out, is it? Fuck!